We're on page 9, but let's flip back to this page. Couple things that I decided to add were a couple more butterflies. Now with these butterflies, I just clipped out on white cardstock, and then I used some of my shabby pink and my blues around the edges, and I used blue around the edges here, and I just put a single bling in there, and I covered these with glossy accents. Okay, our next page. On our next page, all I did here was add glossy accents to the angel here to help liven it up a little bit against the matted background. And now we are on our page 9. Page 9. In your paper pack, you will find this sheet. On the back, it looks like this. We're going to turn it so the butterfly is up here, measure over 7 1/4 inches, and cut. Now measure over 6 inches and cut. This is our base page for page 10. We're going to set that off to the side, and we're going to work with this. Cut a piece of cardstock that is 6 1/2 inches by 7 1/4 inches, and let's get out our scoring board. Place this so we are 6 1/2 inches across the board. At a 1/2 inch, we're going to score. Oop, I got something on my thing here. 1/2 inch, score. And at 5/8, we're going to score. Those of you that are using the deep edge punch, you will punch along this side. Your score lines are over here, so just punch along this side. Those of us who are die cutting, let's get in the Floor Borders Basics. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab this one right here. And how we're going to maneuver this is we're going to bring the top of the curve up here so that it's lined up with the top of our page. And then we will center this top to bottom, or just bring this to the top if it's easier. And we're going to run that through our die cutter. Now, if you are only working with a die cutter with a 6 inch wide base, what you'll do is you will fold on your score lines here and tuck them back. And then that way it will fit through your die cutter. All right, I die cut mine, and I'm just gonna take my little bracket off here. And I need to clip to release this. And that is what we have. So make sure that we fold along our score lines now if you haven't already done so. All right, our score lines are going to be, or our flap is off to the left for this one. So what we're going to do is you have an outside score line and an inside one. Let's now pinch and crease on the inside one. So all we have to look at, everyone, is what we need to cover with paper. Now in your reserves you will find this. This was the cutting left over from our base sheet. We're gonna measure over 7 1/8 of an inch and cut. Put this in our reserves. Okay, so this should fit nicely. We do have this little hump right here for us to cut out. Those of you that use the straight edge, what you will do if needed, because we want to have, if needed, you're going to trim it. We're going to have a little bit of black showing on the left, the top, the bottom, and according to this, you guys should only have to, if any, trim off a little bit of this to fit under your trim. Those of us that use this, we are going to get into the floor borders and we're going to find the bracket that fits here. Okay, I'm going to turn this. So I'm just going to line this up where I need to be. I'm going to, so that I can line up where that hump is here. the best I can. I'm just going to place my thing like so, where it needs to be on my page. Looks like I need to be right about there. So now I'm just going to run this through my die cutter. Okay, mine is a good fit. I have like this. This will look nice right like that. Okay, stick this off to the side. Let's attach our fold out page. And now all I'm doing is I'm folding on the outside line here. I'm going to hook this back behind so that it is straight. I'm going to pinch and hold it, continue to hold it. Now all I'm going to do is glue down this flap. All right, now I'm going to press back on that inner score line so it fits nice. And that should be what yours looks like. Okay, let's glue this down. In your reserves, you will have this piece. Let's cut out and around, leaving the blue border around the dragonfly panel. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick this on my paper cutter, and I'm going to cut all the way this way first to release the bottom portion. Then I'm going to come and cut this way to release these. Okay, put everything in reserves except for this panel. Now you'll notice you have a little bit of blue here showing. We want the same amount over here. So if you need to measure, oh, I've got about 1/8 of blue trim showing here, you'll measure over here the same thing. Make a pencil mark. And now you're going to trim off the excess so it's the same. You'll do the same thing for up here. Make a pencil mark and trim. So your border is same all the way around, and I'll show you what mine looks like. So all I did was trim off any excess to try and make that the same. This will be a nice fit. And I'm definitely going to be placing it like this in just a moment, but we need to get some black cardstock. A piece of cardstock that is 4 3/8 by 6 1/8. Let's place this on our scoring board, and we are 4 3/8 across. At 1/4 inch, we're going to score. And then we're going to fold on that little score line there, trying to keep this as even as we can. The hinge is off to the left. Let's just fold that back behind so all we see is what needs to be covered. This should be a nice fit if we center it. So let's glue that down. Got mine down. I'm going to flip it over. The flap is now off to the right. Let's grab a magnet. And we're going to place it about 1/4 inch away from the edge and try to center that top to bottom. Okay, let's find our paper. In your reserves, you will find this sheet. So I'm going to turn it so that this piece is over here. I'm going to measure over 4 inches and cut. Now, also in reserves, you will find a very long strip. And it is approximately 1 inch by, 12 inches. Okay, we're going to measure over 4 inches and cut. And Sissy needs to go out, obviously. Verify both of your pieces here are the same. They should be. We cut them at 4 inches. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is glue this one down, leaving a little bit of a black border on the bottom and the side, and this should clear your hinge. So let's apply our glue and get this down first. Okay, next, apply glue to this, making sure you do get around this magnet here. Apply glue to this, and we're going to glue it down. Now, when you glue it down, you're going to slightly overlap about 1/16 of an inch over this. So let's do that. In your reserves, you should find a very thin strip. This is the one we used to cut a little snip on the previous pages. We're going to measure over 4 inches and cut. So apply glue and glue that down to the top of your piece. Or you can use this side. It's up to you. I'm going to use the brighter colors. Now what I'm doing now is going through and trying to use up some of these pieces, scrap pieces that to help eliminate me cutting into new pieces. So, okay, now in your reserves you will have this. It's actually the cutting off the cover of our paper pack. On the back, of course, it's white. Let's cut out and around the unicorn. And then we're going to mount it to black cardstock and cut around that. And I'll show you mine when I'm done. Okay, so I have mine done. Okay, let's flip this over where we're looking at it. Make sure we place this right. Our hinge is off to the left. We're just going to roll that over. Okay, we're going to place this, and I'm going to show you. I only have glue along this side, down here on his legs. And we're going to place that all the way over, just like that, so that we can still slide something back behind if we wished. Okay, it is time to flip this back over and pull out your hinge here, and we're going to apply a thin line of glue. Okay, push it back, and you can just use this. You'll bring it all the way over until the black of the edge of this meets the black over here. Trying to keep that straight, and you will press it down. Open it up, and we will press. Now, I want to cover this. Now, when we were cutting this, you should have a leftover strip like this. Place it down, and it should fit fairly well to cover most of that black. Let's glue that down. Okay, I got mine down. Let's just close that and flip this completely over. Let's get the mate to the other magnet. Make sure your page is down. Let it find its mate. It found it. Place some glue. And we're going to let that glue dry while we're looking for our other paper for right in here. In your reserves, you will find this long sheet. On the back, it looks like this. Let's turn it so the butterfly is on this side. Measure over 7 1/8 of an inch and cut this piece. Put with your page 10. We're going to use this. Measure over 4 3/4 of an inch and cut this piece. Put in your reserves. Okay, those of you that used, and you're going to want to steer clear of that hinge, but those of you that used the straight edge punch, you will want to trim this to fit under your trim, making sure that you stay away from that so that it fits. And once you have that, you can glue it down. Those of us that used that, we're going to grab out our little thing. However, we're not going to use the same one because we're looking at it this way. We're going to grab the other one that fits. Alrighty, so we're going to place this down so that we are about a 1/16 or 16th inch to an 1/8 of an inch away from that score line. All we want to do is find where that hump is up here. And once you have it, we can now run this through our die cutter. So let's do that. Okay, once you do that, apply glue and glue that down. Next, cut a piece of cardstock that is 2.5 inches by 8.5 inches. Those of you that are using the straight edge punches, punch along one of your long sides. I am back in the same Fleur Borders Basics. And for us, I have the hump part going this way. And all I'm going to do is bring that up to the top. And I'm going to center this top and bottom. So I'll have the same amount of black cardstock here as here. And then I'm going to run this through my die cutter. Those of us that die cut, let's just cut in to release. Okay, this is really simple. All we're going to do is do a side pocket. Let's grab some score tape. And at the edge of our decorative paper is where I'm going to lay the score tape. And I'm going to pull that up. Now, all we're going to do is center this and put that right on over. We're making ourselves a little side pocket here. Flip your piece over and tack these down back behind. Okay, let's find our paper to cover this. In your reserves, you will find this on the back. It is that. The first thing that we're going to want to do is clip off this blue border. And I'm going to put it on the paper cutter to make sure it's straight. Okay, place your piece up here and you'll give yourself a little bit of a black border. Bring it all the way down. Make a pencil mark and trim. Those of you that use the deep edge punch, what you're going to do is you are going to trim this to fit in there. Okay, you're about 1/8 of an inch in. So from the top of yours down to the bottom would be right there. So you are going to be doing some cutting. Now one thing is, if you find you're going to be cutting into imagination, you can always take a little bit off this way to get it to fit. Those of us that are using the curved, okay, now you have a choice. You can either leave it flat like this and glue it down. If you do that, then you're going to make sure you put a piece of scratch cardstock behind so that the glue doesn't close your pocket. But for me, I want to do this. So I'm going to bring it down so I can see where that hump is there. And it's going to make it very helpful for me to also see where the edge is. So I'll just place this down. And I'm going to slide this up so I know where it's supposed to be. And I'm going to run that through my die cutter. And I should still be able to have imagination. So let's do that. Okay, mine slipped. And I'm going to just bring that up. Now one thing, mine slipped on the die cutting machine. So one thing I'm going to have to do is trim this down. Because we are into our hinges. So what you'll want to do is just bring that up so you can see. And it looks like we're going to need to trim right underneath that command traction. So I'm going to trim mine up. Okay, once you have yours where it's supposed to be there, glue it down. Okay. This page is complete. Flip it over, apply your score tape like we have been, and mount it in our book. I've got mine in my book, and that looks good. All right, we're on page 10, and we're going to be using this. So we'll stick these off to the side. Here's our base page, but we're going to be making a large flip album, okay, for the inside. Kind of like what we did before, but a little different as the way it flips. So the first thing we're going to do is cut a piece of cardstock that is 6 inches by 10 5/8. And then we're going to need our scoring board. We are 10 5/8 across the board. At 5 1/8 we'll score, and at 5 1/2 inches we're going to score. And then we're going to fold on our score lines, making sure that when we fold, we are even with our sides. Let's grab our pencil, open it up, and we're just going to put bottom. Set that off to the side. cut your next piece of cardstock. That is 5 7/8 by 10.5 inches. And then let's get our scoring board. We are 10.5 inches across. At 5 1/8, we're going to score. And at 5 3/8, we're going to score. And then we're going to fold on our score lines. We're going to write middle on this one. And we'll set this one off to the side. Okay, so for this piece, we're going to cut it at 5 7/8 by 10 3/8. On your scoring board, you're 10 3/8 across at 5 1/8. We're going to score, and at 5 1/4, we're going to score. And then we're going to fold on our score lines. Okay, your bottom piece right here, grab your middle piece, flip it over, grab your 1/4 inch score tape and put that right in between those score lines. And if you have any score tape peeking over the edges, you will clip it. All right, so I'm going to, here's our spine piece here. I'm just going to pull it so I'm like this. And I'm going to line that up in between top and bottom. There should be about a 1/16 of an inch. I'm going to turn mine so I can see between the bottom and the top. And I'm going to place that. Okay. So there's that. Okay, for this one we have to use glue. And we have a fine line of glue going right in down in the center. And we'll need to mop up any glue that seeps out. We're just going to place that right in the center there, making sure that it is the same as our other piece, and we're going to press. Okay, let's open this up, fold this over. It's very important that we sop up any glue that is seeping out, otherwise it might glue our page. So let's spend a moment getting any glue that seeped out cleaned up. Okay, I've got mine all cleaned up here. Let's grab now, our spine is going to be at the top. Grab this piece. It should be a nice fit top to bottom, giving you enough border, black border. So once you have that centered, and it may be easy just to open up your book to do this so you don't have the black cardstock underneath, making sure you have the black border top and all around. And we're going to make a pencil mark and trim. Okay, apply glue and glue that down. Grab this outer reserves, looks like this. Measure over 3/8 of an inch and cut. Alright, this is going to be for up here, so all you're going to do is place it so it is the same width as this. And we're just going to make a pencil mark where it needs to be cut. We're going to cut that, apply glue, and glue that down. Got mine on there. Let's flip this up to our first page. And you'll see the words bottom on there. In your paper pack, you will find this print on the back. It looks like this, very pretty. Measure over 5 3/4 of an inch and cut. Alrighty, now measure over 4 7/8 of an inch and cut. Place this down. This should be a nice fit. We're going to glue it down. Grab this piece, it's the other side to this, looking at it like this, measure over 4 7/8 and cut. Flip it over so you have the lighter blue. Verify you fit and glue that down. Let's flip that up. You should see the word middle now. Grab this out of reserves. Measure over 5 3/4 of an inch and cut. Okay, let's turn it. Measure over 4 3/4 of an inch and cut. Measure over again 4 3/4 of an inch and cut. Verify you fit. Still leaving a little bit of a black border there. Glue that down. And you'll do the same for this one. Let's flip it. And you should see the word top right there. Grab your other cover, measure over 5 3/4 of an inch and cut. I already cut mine, but what you're going to do is measure over 4 3/4 of an inch and cut. Verify you fit, which you should, and glue that down. Now, on this other piece from that, just chop off this where you can see the WWWSTA. We're going to cut right along that line there. Looking at your page, measure over 4 3/4 and cut. Glue your piece down. Don't worry about this. In your reserves, you should have this tag. On the back, it looks like this. Let's cut out and around this tag. We're going to glue it down to black cardstock, and we're going to cut out and around it, leaving just a little bit of black showing, like we've done before. Once you have that, just put a little glue up here. Make sure you're not in your hinge area, and glue that down. You should be able to find a strip like this, and it has some pinks on there. I'm going to take my butterfly punch and chop out a couple here. I'm going to use my brown ink, if I can find it. Where'd my little dauber go? It's around here somewhere. But I'm going to go around the edges of each one of these. Okay, I inked around the edges there. I'm going to take the larger one and make sure his wing does not interfere with your little hinges here for closing it. I'm just going to stick this one here, and I'm going to stick the other one right there, right like that. Okay, so for the inside of him, I'm going to do a little bit of frills, and I'm going to show you that. Just stick a little bit here. And it's probably easier, and I've got the candy one, and it's much easier to do this before you stick it. So I'm going to pull mine back up really quick without damaging, I hope. And I'm just going to sprinkle some right in the center there. This is the candy one. All right. I think I'm going to leave these off to the side until the frills dry so it does not mess up my book here when I close my page, but where they go is right up in here. Whoops, I got crazy. Okay, so my butterflies have some frills. That looks good. Set those off to the side. And as soon as we're done doing that, then I'm going to put my butterflies back, and we'll do that together. Okay, flip your page. Next, in your paper pack, you should have this sheet on the back. It looks like this. Measure over 5 3/4 of an inch and cut. Let's turn that. Measure over 4 3/4 of an inch and cut. Measure over again 4 3/4 of an inch and cut. Okay, verify you are going to fit. Glue them down. Okay, let's flip that up. We got 2 more to go. And we have this sheet here. So I'm going to flip it over, looking at it like this. Measure over, actually, measure over this way, 5 3/4 of an inch. Now turn it like this. Measure over 4 3/4 of an inch and cut. Measure over again, 4 3/4 of an inch and cut. Okay, verify that you fit, which you should, and glue those down. Okay, I've got mine down. Now, remember, this is when this is shut, and it's going to hang off our page. Flip this over like this. We need to get some paper back here so that it does not show through to the other side, just black under your trim. This was a cutting we just had. Measure over, and let me make sure, because I want to make sure it's a good fit. Measure over 4 7/8 and cut. Apply glue and bring that right on over, centering it top to bottom, and glue that down. Okay, let's open up to where we need to place our butterflies. Right there. Larger one I'm going to put right here, making sure it does not interfere. And then the second one goes right about here. Okay, let's close this up and get it on our page. Before we do anything, here's our base page. We're going to flip this over and do our score tape. And then we are going to mount this in our book first before we place this one. So let's get it ready to go. I've got mine in my book. Now I want to be able to have this go out, and it can only go out so far, remember. So what we want to do is grab our page, hold it, place it somewhere, and I have mine to where I can still see. This is where we're going to open up our book, stand it upright, and take a look. And I can bring mine out quite a bit farther before going over the edge. So this is where I have mine. Let's get our pencil. And I'm going to make sure that I can still slide stuff back behind. Okay, pencil time. A light line goes here on the side, so I know where I need to be. The bottom, same. Okay, so now I know where the side of this is going to place and where the bottom is. So glue time. I'm going to get the bottom. And this is pretty heavy, so you'll want to give yourself some room here. Okay, I also know that I'm going to need some cardstock to slip back behind there, like so, to catch any glue. And this is where I'm going to apply glue. And I'm going to get a little bit here on the side. Okay, it is time. Now for me, I'm going to erase this, except for a little bit at the bottom. I can still see a little bit there, and I can see where it goes. I know exactly where it places. So now I'm going to just line that up, and I'm going to press. Now remember, once you have it down, it's still going to be wet. Carefully open up your book and press that down really good. Okay, this is going to catch whatever it's going to catch. I'm going to grab another piece of cardstock here and make sure I press down really good. Okay, I'm not going to tug on this until that glue has completely dried. All right. Let's just see how this works. I got this. This should be able to slide right back in there. And it does. Good size photo can fit in here. Okay. Page 10 is complete. We are now on to page 11 and 12. We're actually going to do these together. In your paper pack, you will find this sheet. On the back, it looks like this. We're going to turn it. The unicorn is now up in the corner. Measure over 7 1/4 inches and cut. Okay, poor unicorn got his head cut off, but that's okay. We did not need this, at least for now. We're going to stick this in our reserves, and we're not even going to see this part. We're making 2 pockets, so now measure over 6 inches and cut. Okay, we have our 2 base pages. In your paper pack, you will find this print on the back. It looks like this. Measure over 5 1/4 inches and cut. Now, measure over 6 inches and cut. Okay, this piece The one with the rose is going to be page 12. This one is page 11. The unicorn is going to be on this page and the blue one on this. So right now, let's just stick those off to the side. Cut 2 pieces of cardstock that are 6 1/4 inch by 8 1/2 inches. All right, so you should have both of your pieces. If you were using the EK Tools or Martha Stewart Deep Edge Punch, you will punch along the long side of each one of these. For me, I am in the Classic Borders Basic, and I have my 2 brackets, this one and the one that fits. And they just fit together there. And I'm going to bring the tip of that up to the tip of my paper, and I'm going to make sure I have even amount of black cardstock on either side. And I'm going to run this through the die cutter, and I'll do the same for this one. So let's do that. If you were die cutting, clip in from the sides to release the top section here. We're going to place our pockets first. Let's be on the safe side here. Grab your score tape and line the bottom of your main sheet. Okay, let's give this a little bend. And I'm going to place this centered. And I'm going to wrap my flaps around the back. And we're going to tack those down. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the same thing over here, laying our score tape and mounting our pocket, wrapping around and tacking it down. So let's do that. Once you have your pockets down, make sure that that score tape is down really good. Okay, once you've smoothed this down with your bone folder, those of you that use the straight edge punch, what you're going to do is just bring this right down underneath your trim, make a pencil mark, and trim this to fit and glue it down. Those of us that use this die, in that same Classic Borders set, you'll find the curve. So we're just going to make sure we are centered from side to side, find where that hump is, and we're going to die cut. And we're also going to do the same thing with this side. So everyone, let's get our pages ready and we can glue those down. Okay, I have mine. The next thing is we're going to do what we've done before. We're going to line our bling, glue it down to the shape of our curve here, or if you are straight across, you will do it straight across. So let's do that on both of these. Okay, I have my bling down. I'm letting that dry. In the meantime, I am going to be preparing some flowers. Okay, so I have some flowers here and some leaves. And the first thing I'm going to do is put a large leaf. And it can hang off the side there. I'm going to stick that right there. My frills and everything are still drying, so I got to be careful. Have another flower, and it's going right here. Flower, and that's going right here. Now I have a couple leaves here that I'm just going to try to tuck in wherever I can. And let me see, that in there. Okay, over here I've got a large leaf that's going to go under a larger flower. I think I'll just stick that off to the side. Flower. And I'm just going to place these. Before I place this last one, I am going to wait. And I do have my Wink of Stella on all these, and I'll probably also treat it with glossy accents as soon as I'm done here. In your reserves, you will find this. Now, you're going to see imagination is everything, and then part of the rest of it's chopped off. So what we want to do is stick this on our paper cutter, and we're going to cut just above between the blue and the brown all the way up. So let's do that. Okay, what we're going to do is just cut this. And down here where we can start seeing the rest of everything, I'm just going to cut right underneath. Okay, I am going to ink around the edges of this. I used my brown to ink around the edges. Look in your reserves for a piece of black cardstock. We're going to glue this down, and then we are going to cut out and around, leaving a little bit of black border like we've been doing. Okay, I will be applying glossy accents to this as well. We'll just put that right there. Okay, so in your reserves you will find this sheet. Let's cut out, let's see which one. Let's just cut out this one, the panel, and all we're going to cut out is the brown. We're going to leave out the blue. Now ink around the edges with your brown and mount it to black cardstock like we have been, cutting around it, leaving a little black showing. Grab your little imagination is everything. Apply some glue and center that like so. Okay, give this a little bend here, down below. Apply glue to the sides and the bottom. Tuck this back in behind a flower if you can. And press a little pocket for us. All right, it's time to add this flower. And this one, oh, I think this one is going to go right there. Okay, when my pearls are done drying, I am going to flip this over to the back, put my score tape on the back of each one of these, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply my glossy accents, let it dry, and mount it in my book. Page 11 and 12 are done. The only thing we have left to do is attach the side closure, the last piece to the dress. Okay, so really quick before I put this aside to dry, I added my glossy accents to just about everything. I got that covered. I've got my flowers, leaves, and I also cut out some butterflies from the leftover little scraps of paper, and I placed some bling in the middle, and I used my stickles, the diamond stickles. I also put diamond stickles on the tail of the unicorn, his horn, his mane, some butterflies over here, and of course that, and I added some to my flowers. So I don't know if you can tell, but this is what I've got. Okay, I am going to set this aside and take about a 20-minute break before I get this in my book and we move on to installing the dreads. Let's attach our dreads. So you'll need some ribbon, and I'm just going to use something like this. And all we're going to do is feed it up through that eye and down through the other side. Very simple. Now, if you need to close these little things, just grab some pliers and close them more. All right, hook it on. Now, one thing is you might want to complete your picture mats first. If you don't, you will leave a little bit of ease in between. Now, I got all my picture mats in here while mine was drying. So what you're going to do is you're just going to pull this over to the side. Okay? Once you see where you need to be on the side, you're going to pinch it like I am. Okay? So I've got it pinched. I like to use hot glue because it's quick and I don't have to worry about this springing back on me. So make sure that it's tight right through here when I was grabbing it. Okay, so for the tails you can either snip off or leave. That is completely up to you. And I think I'll snip mine up a little. Okay, so for this, I'm just going to add a little glue. And there are my tails. Now you can cover that with anything you want. I decided to use a butterfly. So I'm just going to put my butterfly right back here. Okay, our album is complete. I think it came out gorgeous. I liked how I did something different where we had things we were able to stick off the page to give us more room in there too. Alrighty, thank you for joining me in this tutorial. I am now headed off for my vacation. I got this done in the nick of time. And I hope you have enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get a notification on my next tutorial that I do. Happy crafting, everybody. See you next time.